Alright guys, so I'm working on a 190XT power director clutch, got sitting here on the bench. More specifically, I'm going to be working on this bearing retainer that the clutch housing sits in. The one that I had was actually worn out and had some grooves cut on the inside here, so it's laying over here. You can see the grooves cut in it, so my clutch wouldn't work, and then I had some other issues internally with discs that I've replaced. So I've got my new retainer bearing here that the input shaft sets in behind, and then you can see on that one it's much better shape. And then you got your high and your low side supply lines that feed your clutch. So we slide over here to the power director, and this will slide in there like so. And then as we apply through the lever high-low oil to each of these lines, and it will compress either the low or the high side of the clutch, and that's how we get it. So anyway, I'm getting that prepared to go back in the tractor. I had to split this thing twice, so just to get going here, we've got the bearing retainer. I've got the new oil seal. It's a 702-3 5253, and just oil seal here in the manual. So we're going to go ahead and install that here. Reading in the parts or in the service manual, there's a drain hole right here in the bottom, and I think you can see it. You got to make sure to not obstruct that, so got to be real careful. They specifically say that in the manual, so make sure when you're installing your new seal that you don't get it messed up. So here's the old one, and we'll have our rubber portion of the seal facing outward, and then on the inside, if we look right down in there, there's that drain. So it's kind of hard to see, but anyway, so we want to make sure that we don't obstruct that, and we'll get this new seal put in. So I'll just fit in here like so. I'll grab my hammer. Alright, so we'll just drive that new seal in. Alright, so still need to go in a little bit, so let me grab a punch. Alright, that looks pretty good. So we just went flush with that inside surface, and look down on the inside there. I still have plenty of room for the oil to drain right there. So we've got that put on there. Now on the back side, we're going to get a small gasket here, and that will basically separate the transmission oil from the hydraulic oil. Let's slide over here to the tractor. So there's our input shaft sticking out right there, and basically what we're going to do is just slide the retainer bearing right on like so, and then there's going to be four 3/4 inch bolts that will fit right in there, and that'll torque it up right here in each spot. So once that's done, we can slide the power director right on the shaft right in here, and then we're ready to slide this thing back together. So I went ahead and put some just Permatex gasket maker on both surfaces of my gasket, and that way we'll just 100% make sure that everything's good. I'm just going to snug these up. Now I'm going to go look in the manual real quick and see what the torque specs are on these 4 bolts. Alright, so these cap screws torque down between 40 and 50 foot-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench set to 50, and we're just going to go ahead and torque these up. And I'm going to do a cross pattern on it so that we get some even distribution of pressure. Alright, so those should be torqued up now. And let's double check them. Alright, so the next step will be sliding the power director on the input shaft. Alright, I'm going to give a quick overview on the power director clutch. You're going to see in a lot of the Allis models, the 190XT in particular is this one, which will be the same as the 190. The 200 is going to be the same. So obviously this one's out of the tractor. So this is the back side of the power director right here, the clutch back. So you're going to have your and basically as this thing is in there spinning, you can see there's some holes here that will direct fluid through there, and there's one on the low side. And then internally you've got the high and the low. So you got a set of clutches on this side and a set of clutches on this side from this center plate. And as pressure is applied to each side, oil will go into either this hole or the one that's 180 degrees out, and it'll push a piston up on the bottom side. So this piece right here is a piston that comes down in here, and the whole plate just moves up, and when it does, it will compress the clutch discs that are in here. When that happens, of course, that puts you into your high or your low side depending on which way you got your lever. So this one's the same way. As we apply the pressure, it'll compress up this steel piece and tighten the clutches, and that's when you'll start moving. So looking at the breakdown on it, you can kind of see how it all goes together. This is as it's mounted on the tractor, this is facing rearward. And then right here is your clutch piston I was talking about, number 6. And as oil is pushed in on the flat surface on this side, it will push towards that center piece right here, number 9. And then you got your clutch discs and plates in there that alternate order, and those are compressed. And those are riding on a gear, and so you can see there's notches inside on your plates, and as that is squeezed together, then this gear turns, and then on the input shaft it will determine which gear is actually driving the transmission gears. So, and then the opposite side, which I believe this side, the front side, is the low side of the clutch. It's similar thing. So you got your piston piece, which is number 6, and some of them are different. This particular clutch pack does not have the one with the ears on it, so you could have parts just a little bit different than what the diagram's showing you. But either way, that's the power director clutch. There obviously is a picture of it, and here's the removal and taking the clutch apart and putting it back together. So there's all your torque specs. But anyway, I'm going to slide over here to the tractor real quick, and you can see this is where the clutch actually fits in. So the part that I started out with slides back in to the bearing retainer, and in the bottom of the bearing retainer you've got these two hydraulic supply lines, and you can see one of the holes there. So as that clutch is slid on there, you'll either have, you can see how those are separated. See, one's to the front part of the housing and one's to the back. And as fluid comes in this side, it will just apply fluid to that one side of the clutch. So as fluid was applied to that front line, it will be in between these grooves, and you've got sealing rings right here, and then that will of course go in the hole that's down here where my finger is and compress the clutches. So anyway, they're really pretty simple. It just takes a lot of time to get to them. I think I split this one apart in 2 hours by myself, but I'd done it before, so I knew what linkage I needed to disconnect and how I needed to have everything blocked up. So it didn't take too long. The first time that I did it, it was probably more of a 4, maybe 5 hour deal, because I would stop and read the manual and make sure everything was going right. So what I'm going to do now is we'll go ahead and I'm going to set the clutch, slide it right in there, and then we'll do a quick pressure check. Talked about the bearing retainer and what's required in it in order for that clutch to work. What happened with me is I had one, I inspected it according to my service manual, and I thought that it was okay. And in reality, it had some grooves cut in it that didn't allow my sealing rings to seal up. So here we are again, and I painted the tractor in the meantime. So anyway, let me grab that clutch and we'll slide it on. All right, so this clutch is really heavy, so we're just going to slide it onto the shaft, and you may have to spin it a little bit to get your splines to line up. So again, here's those grooves. Those will be for oil right here. This will fill up from that back line, which will be my high side, and it's going to go in that hole, and then it'll come up in the clutch and compact it. And I'll show you what that's going to look like when we get this on. I'll do an air check on it. And there it went. Okay. So we got that sealed in there. Make sure you push all the way back so that it sets here, and in the neck of the director we've got 2 Allen screws that are going to go in there that's got ball bearings. So you turn it up like so, and then I'm going to grab that ball bearing, and we'll get both of those in. Alright, so I got the ball bearing and the set screw. We'll drop a ball bearing in. Like so. And we're going to take the set screw. It's got an Allen head on it. Get it tightened down in there. And then we'll rotate our clutch pack. We'll put the other one in. The manual says that those are 160 degrees out. Not that that really matters, but alright, so we got that finger tight, and then we're going to torque it to anywhere from 5 to 7 foot-pounds. So I got it set on 7, which isn't much. We got that one set. I'll rotate it around to the next one. Okay, there's our 7 foot-pounds. Alright, so we got the power director installed and it's locked in. the next thing you want to do is you want to do a pressure check. You want to make sure that, especially if you put all new everything inside, you want to make sure that everything is functioning before you slide this thing back together. So you can do that with an air, just a regular old air line. You know, 100 psi or so is all you need. So we'll go ahead and get that set up, and then I'll show you how that works. Alright, so our next step is going to be pressure checking the clutch pack. We got to make sure that we've got good seal inside the bearing retainer. The new seal rings and everything that I put on are in there. And then I've also got a lot of new seals internally. I guess there's two on either piston, on the low and the high side of the clutch. This is a must. I kind of learned this the hard way. This is the second time I've had this thing split. But what you want to do is get your air hose, and you want to make sure that you got a rubber tip. And I'll show you what we're going to do here. So we're going to watch our clutch. That clutch pack close up. So if I'm not mistaken, that is the low side. Now we'll do the high side. So also, what you may want to do while you're testing that is also rotate. So let me get this set up here where we can watch it, because I want to rotate that clutch, because the sealing rings in here, I just want to make sure that everything's good. Everything looks good. We'll go to the low side. Everything looks good. So yep, everything's going to function just fine on this clutch. So that's kind of your pressure check and your testing. There's not much to it, but it's very important that you do that before you slide this thing back together, just for the fact of everything it takes to split a tractor. So just do all the checking that you can on the front end before that thing goes back together. So we've got it all mounted. Basically at this point, I'm ready to push it back together. There's my front half. Got some linkage and stuff that I'll have to watch when I'm pushing it in, but should be able to slide it right in, and put a new gasket and everything on here before we get too close. And I'll go ahead and put some Permatex and gasket sealer on both sides of that transmission housing, and that way we don't have to worry about any leaks. So anyway, that'll take care of it for right now. We'll have some more time-lapse videos and some other details of this going back together. I've got another video that we'll have up that will show splitting. You can do it with one person, but it's recommended to have two just to help the separating portion. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Hit like and subscribe, leave comments, and have a good day.